All right, so we're live, and I'm Tien from Engineered Money, and this is Rohan, also from Engineered Money. And today we're going to talk about something that's near and dear to our heart. You want to get started, Rohan?
Yeah. So I think it would be good to start our first discussion on CRO or Crow token, also associated with Crypto.com exchange. And I kind of just wanted to talk a little bit today about like how how these two things are kind of taking off, like what direction they're going, and then with where we see that going in the future and what it means to us. So I think like it would be kind of like pertinent to get started, just kind of like really quickly like talking about the interest over time of crypto.com exchange versus a really popular exchange that I think most people are aware of called Binance. And I actually, before this call, I kind of looked at some of the data for Binance versus crypto.com exchange. And I actually saw that, crypto.com exchange being a newer and smaller exchange has always been kind of below the Binance exchange trend charts on Google Trends. But I actually saw these two lines intersect around October 25th, which is about a week ago. And so that's kind of a sign that people are basically gaining interest in this exchange. And I think that it's a very like undervalued token and exchange in terms of the value that it will bring to not only like the customers and the users, but also the investors of the token going forward.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree with you. Like way back, right? In let's say 2017, 2018. I don't know if you remember, but I think we both had quite a good experience using Binance, right? And we had a lot of Binance coins and we used the exchange and made a bunch of trades. And it was generally a good experience that was unrivaled essentially by anything else, right? I don't know about you, but at the time I tried stuff like Kraken and Coinbase, and I think there was not as much selection in Coinbase, and Kraken has a lot of usability problems, right? Like there was many times where you just couldn't access it, at least back then, that kind of turned me away from it because it didn't have that same easy to use, reliable, and large selection of tokens network that Binance does. And
Yeah.
I think what I'm curious about is, I love Binance, you love Binance, and the both of us, I think we both love CRO and crypto.com. But I'm just curious, what's your take on why you decided to move over? Like why use crypto.com and CRO instead of Binance and BNB? What's the benefit?
Yeah. I mean, I think there are like a few problems with exchanges and differences between them, and I think that's the reason that so many are kind of starting to come up now. Basically, there is like a huge like fragmentation of different exchanges and like what they offer. So, for example, Binance kind of caters to. I think the original reason Binance was so popular was that it offered so many coins and all their coin swaps, and then they introduced their Binance coin and they gave discounts on trades and that kind of thing, and that just kind of propelled them because before that, a lot of exchanges were very bare bones. They offered very few exchanges. They didn't really offer their own tokens, and then they would have a lot of issues here and there. So we're kind of getting into this like maturity stage with crypto and exchanges where we're basically like we're getting to a point where we want like regular like consumers to be able to like use this stuff very easily. And so there's kind of two main directions I see exchanges going in. The kind of exchange like Binance where you just have a plethora of options and uh it's very like feature rich. But the problem with those kind of exchanges is that it it can be very complicated for like the average user to use. Like if I showed Binance to, my father, who's not, very technological, he would have a lot of trouble like navigating around that. But on the flip side, I think crypto.com has this kind of opportunity to come in and fill the space where it's both easy to use. They offer a good amount of exchanges for the main tokens, and then other features such as their own like token and their own like benefits along with that. So for example, they have like the Crow token, which we were talking about earlier, which offers like um, apart from like their appreciation that it may have uh, from it being undervalued, there's a lot of potential there for them. They could also offer discounts on cryptos. They could use it as like a rewards for their debit or credit cards. Uh, And there's just so many different things that they can do with it going forward.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And like thinking back about just BNB, right? It really serves its main purpose is that when you're on the exchange and you want to make a trade, you need to pay that fee. And you get this discount from using BNB because it's their coin, it's their exchange, and they're willing to give you that discount if you use it. And CRO, it offers that same benefit that is offered by BNB, but in addition to that, there is also all these extra benefits as well, right? They have like it's like a set of a trio of apps, right? You got the main app, you got the exchange app, and you got the DeFi wallet app, right? And CRO plays a role in all three of those. Uh, in DeFi, maybe not too much, but right in the main app, you got this whole benefit of having that card. And this card, it just offers so many benefits when you compare it to something that that's more of a traditional fiat card, right? Like when I'm thinking of fiat card, I'm thinking, like the City Double Cash card. I'm thinking, I don't know, Chase Sapphire Reserve, right? Like some of those fancier cards with the fees. And with a similar, I guess it's not even a fee per se, it's a stake, right? You can get similar benefits just from holding this coin, like in addition to using it to save money on the exchange. And these benefits, they're pretty great, right? Like what card do you have right now with them?
So right now I have the IC white tier card, and I originally started with the Jade tier card, and I think my experience will kind of reign true for a lot of the crypto.com users. A lot of them are skeptical. They don't know if it's a scam. They don't know, like where it's going. Let me just say that like their debit card has the Visa name on it. Visa won't just issue these cards to anyone. They go through a pretty severe vetting process. And so I think crypto.com is kind of establishing itself as like a real company that people can trust. And so, I started out with the Jade card, which at the time was about 4,000 US. And once I gained some kind of perspective on like how it works and like where they're going and what I think of the future of the coin, I was able to justify to myself to go to the ICY tier, which is roughly 40K USD. And so, that was a really good option for me at the time. I think at this point, I'm 3x now on the investment. But we're not just talking about the investment and like, how that will appreciate. We want to talk about like the value it's bringing to people and where that will go in the future. Obviously that value will also bring, more appreciation of the token.
Right, yeah. And I think it just comes with such good benefits too, right? Like in addition to CRO being that exchange token, being able to use it as this card means that you can gain cash back that is way superior to something like a traditional fiat card. And in addition to that, also having all these perks that also make things better, right? Like just like you, I also went and got the ICY card. Why did I do that? Well, just like you, I also started with the Jade card because it was something I wanted to try and I was a bit skeptical. But after using it, seeing how how usable it is, right? Like it's easy to load it with money, it's easy to get that cash back, and all the perks are relatively automated, right? If I use it to pay for Netflix, if I use it to pay for Amazon, if I use it to pay for Spotify, it's instantaneous, this rebate, this 100% rebate that you get back, right? And this usability along with the perks just makes it so attractive. And what made it even more attractive to me is as I warmed up to this technology, I started to look into other options that are offered on the app. And one of those, the biggest one I'd say, is Earn. And for those of you who don't know, what it is it's basically an option for you to take your cryptocurrency and you can load your cryptocurrency over to Earn, and essentially you get interest on whatever you leave there, right? So you leave it there and they will pay you interest and they will be able to use it for whatever purposes they want. And when you upgrade your card, one of the benefits you get on the higher tiers is you get additional interest. And this interest becomes more powerful as you build your portfolio, right? Because it's compounding. And when you compound with an additional 2% bonus from having a higher tier card, it becomes so powerful, so amazing that I frankly kind of forgot about the perks I cared about at first, right? The free Netflix, the free Spotify, the free Amazon. Those end up being like what, $15 a month, $10 a month, and even the like the icy 5% cashback, right? Like it's a strong cashback, but at this point, it's almost irrelevant compared to the interest that you get from your original stake, from anything additional you want to stake, right? And I think this is where I really love CRO more than Binance is you have this extra choice of having this card. You have all these extra benefits, right? And it's amazing. Like I would say it is my favorite card and I would pull it out for any purchase. Like there's no reason to use a different card unless they don't take Visa. But who doesn't take Visa, right?
The only time that I will actually use my credit card still, and the part that I'm a little bit unsure of on crypto.com is like if I'm going to buy something like a MacBook and I want like the insurance or something that a credit card will often offer, or if I'm going to go rent a car, for example, or I like predict that like maybe the thing that I'm buying is a little bit sketchy and I might have to like file like a back charge, for example. Like I'm buying off some sketchy website, for example. I don't really know what's going to happen. So typically I'll use my credit card for that. However, for like everyday things like grocery shopping and restaurants and things on like Amazon, I will just whip out the crypto.com card. I think it's totally worth it. And I think the money you get from the cash back, if you reinvest it, it creates a really strong compounding effect. And I think that's the real value of the card if you believe in the token.
So yeah, like I think we agree here that there's just so many benefits. But why does it feel like Binance has so much popularity over CRO at this point? What is it that you think is causing this difference, right? I think last time I checked, there was about 10 times more users or more traffic, something like that, on Binance.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think there are several reasons for that. I think Binance offers more coin swaps. They just have more cryptos in general, and it's kind of like been around longer and it's more established. I think crypto.com is kind of like the new underdog in the game. He's coming up and it's coming fast. You know, I think we saw like 40-60% growth just this week alone. And I don't think it's done. I think, you know, we might have this bull run and it might taper off, but I think it's going to pick up again. And I think by next year, we're going to reach $1 easily per token.
Yeah, I noticed that starting from last week, by the way, for viewers tuning in, today is Saturday, November 6th. And from last week to this week, I think we were seeing what, over 50% gain in a single week, including the latest pullbacks. Am I right on that? Can you verify? I think that's about what it is, right?
Yeah, I can look. I don't know the exact number, but it's very high. You would
Yeah,
be,
and like
yeah,
if you looked at it day by day, wait, what we were seeing is every single day there was about a 20% increase in the value of the token. And if you were buying in last week, if you put in like $1,000 last week, then this week you would have like $1,500, right? And it is
yeah,
incredible how much growth you saw.
yeah.
And frankly, I think even now, with so much growth, it's still undervalued, right? Why is it worth so much less than Binance in this case? To me, I think it's simply because that Binance had first mover advantage,
Right, and that kind
right?
of, yeah,
When we go and look for an exchange, right? Back in the day, we tried Kraken, we tried Binance. Why did we not try this CRO based entity, right? And at least for me, I don't know about you, but for me, I didn't see it. I didn't find it. I never tried it because I've never heard of it and I wasn't able to find anything about it. And I use Binance. And if I were someone like that and, like I continue to use Binance, had a good experience, which frankly, it still is a good experience, maybe I don't have reason to change.
yeah.
But, this is a space that is still so new, so fresh with so few users that I think if we were to fast forward, there's much more in terms of numbers of people adopting this. And this is where I think we're slowly going to see that gap between Binance and crypto.com kind of shrink, right?
Yeah.
Because people are going to pull up their app. And if I were to pull it up right now, I look in the App Store, the first thing I see isn't even Binance anymore, at least for me. In my local App Store, maybe it's the same for you, but I don't see it anymore. At the top, what I see first thing is crypto.com. And I think this is basically the future Binance. I think this is on a pathway to, like, frankly, for me, I think they are going to overtake it. But at the very least, they are going to be on parity in terms of usability, in terms of users, and in terms of just overall popularity, right? What do you think on that?
Yeah, I think you're totally right on Binance basically having first movers rights, or maybe they weren't the first mover in this case, but they were kind of one of the better ones. I think actually crypto.com wasn't really available when we started like trading and looking into crypto because that was probably around maybe 2013 or 2012 or something like that. So I'm looking at this Wikipedia thing, and I don't know how accurate it is, but it seems that company announced crypto.com exchange around 2018 or 2017 or 20, something like that. So it's very, very new. So,
So the
if this
problem
is
is we were
maybe
too early.
we're too early, we were using other things. To be clear, I don't think Binance is going anywhere. I think Binance is going to be up there. If not number one, it will be, top five for a very long time. I think that I think that people typically don't just use one exchange. I find that people will kind of use a couple of exchanges here and there, and they'll use like what works for them best. And crypto.com is kind of offering a little bit different of a thing than Binance. Binance is like they're using their coin in a different way. They're both kind of utility tokens, but the way Binance is kind of using their token is like to give discounts on cryptos and exchanges of those cryptos, which is valuable for sure. But on crypto.com, they're kind of exchanging, or sorry, they're appealing more to like the end user and like their normal like habits of buying things and kind of like hodling the tokens, not actually trading them yet. I think one thing that will bring a lot of value to crypto.com is having their token listed on more exchanges that will bring a lot of like implicit marketing towards that. And also their uh, what's it called? Their exchange in the US where do you know what I'm talking about? Where they are going to start doing an exchange or some kind of platform in the US in Q4 2021, which is any day now.
Yeah, I think it is any day now. For me at least, I live in Canada. I have access to the exchange and I love it, right? It's very similar in terms of usability to other exchanges like Binance. But locally for me, being up here in Canada, recently Binance actually announced that they're no longer servicing locally for me. I cannot
Really?
use Binance anymore locally. Yeah. And
Oh,
this
I didn't
is
know
just
that.
to do with local regulations and they're pulling out. And as a result, right? Like even if I want to use Binance, I'm out on Binance. I can't use it anymore because regulatory, right? But crypto.com is still around for me and it's got the exchange. It's coming to the US, but for those of you who have already access to it, it is incredible for a very big reason. And that is, as an exchange, there is just so much trade volume and so much liquidity there that you will not see the very big, uh, not fees, but the big trading spreads that you see in something with less liquidity, right? Like using the app, using Coinbase, things like that, you tend to pay out a lot in that. And for CRO, if you just pay in CRO for your fees, you get a deduction, which is great. But more importantly, the spread is much lower. So you just get a lot more bang for your buck when you're doing the trades. So that's what I use it for personally. I love using the exchange just to move my coins around. And once it comes to the US, that is a big catalyst in my eyes because it is one of the biggest use cases of CRO. Imagine Binance Exchange not even being in the US and you can't even use BNB to power your trades, right? Like that's essentially what it's for. And currently in the US, like it's purely being powered on the fact that you can use it for this card. And that's a good benefit. But it's not the only one, right? And once it comes to a big market, and frankly, the US is an economic powerhouse in my eyes, that really opens the floodgates. For this user adoption, right? There is suddenly way more need for for CRO because people want to make trades and people want to use this card, and it is the great synergy that makes it so worth having. So yeah, for me, I am extremely bullish, and it sounds like you are as well. And for viewers out there, if you're interested, we will have referral codes down below where you can also sign up and get $25 worth of CRO for free just for signing up. But yeah, before we wrap it up, there was one last topic I wanted to touch up on. And this was not just talking about Binance now, but just like the other options out there, right? One of the biggest pieces of the app that you have the benefit of using is the earn, right? I talked about that. You put your coins in there and you get interest back.
Yep.
And it's not the only one, right? There's other guys out there. There's BlockFi, there's Celsius. What do you think
Nexo.
of, yeah, and Nexo? What do you think of those options?
To be honest, I haven't used them and I haven't seen the reason to use them personally. When I look at not the exchange rate, sorry, the interest rates on what they're offering, it doesn't really compare right now, honestly. I know that you should diversify kind of your tokens and your risk and stuff like that. And I will definitely think about that in the future. But for now, I'm riding the zero train. It's going up. I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. I think even if there's a brief consolidation period, I think it's gonna rip again. I think I'm thinking like easily over $1 by next year, maybe $2. I think it's completely reasonable, and I think for CRO to hit the Binance market cap, I think we calculated it to be roughly $3 US. Which you think about, if you get the IC white card, which is $40,000 worth of tokens, I think right now that would be like 200,000 tokens roughly. I'm just kind of guesstimating. If that
Something
goes
like that.
to Yeah, if that goes to $3, it's like 600K, right? That's insane for something that costs you 40K.
Well, color me convinced. I
Yeah,
think I'm going to continue buying up more CRO. I'm going to start working towards that Obsidian card, and let's
yeah,
see where that takes us.
yeah. That's the dream,
But
having the Obsidian card.
yeah, because if you calculate it on the Obsidian card, you get, well, just like the IC card, IC and Obsidian card, you get 12% interest on your staked CRO. And if you're staking 40K for IC or 400K for Obsidian, that is amazing passive income, right? If I were to buy a house now for $400,000, there's no way I would be able to get the same returns. Of course, the risk is also much lower. We can't forget that. But I think, in terms of talking about this particular technology and cryptocurrency, and, frankly, I am more bullish on this technology than I am on housing technology, right? I don't think that there is much in terms of housing technology. It's more just, scarcity. Land is scarce. But the use
Yeah,
case of it, it's not going anywhere, right? It is essentially priced in. So we're going to see good growth in housing. I don't doubt that. Good growth in rent. And it is a great way to stave off inflation. But I think in terms of alternative investment opportunities, this is also no doubt amazing. And I'm bullish on both, right? I went and bought a nice big house specifically to watch that value grow. But this is where my head is at.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, with any great potential comes great risk. So I think that's one thing to keep in mind. It's like, nothing is surefire. That tomorrow CRO could have some huge catastrophe. It can happen. But I don't see that happening, and I see the company is mature enough now that they can deal with like certain issues, and they're getting better every day. So I am keeping my mind on CRO and other cryptocurrencies right now. I have stocks. I'm looking into purchasing properties. So it's not the only thing I have, but I'm very very bullish on CRO and where it goes in the future.
Well, I think this was a great talk. And, for viewers watching, this has been the first episode of Engineered Money. Stay tuned for more coming up. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this.
Yep.
And thank you for coming, Rohan. Hopefully, we'll talk more later.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Have a good day.
All right.